Peace and welcome to my brand new show called Emulating Meticulous Motivational Affirmation. Today I have a special guest here by the name of Rajon Lewis. How are you, Rajon?
I am fantastic.
I want to thank you for the opportunity to have you here.
Yes.
I know you traveled a long way, so I really appreciate that, and I really want to give you thanks and kudos to you.
Absolutely. Much appreciated as well.
You're welcome. So I wanted to start off, this is a topic that may be near and dear to some of you all. Rajon and I have been through a lot in life. We share some similarities, and we're gonna go into a topic dealing with things that we went through as a kid, schizophrenia, all kinds of things. So this is gonna be a special show for you all, and I hope you all enjoy. Okay, Rajon, so we're going to get this started, all right?
Absolutely.
All right,
yes,
let's get it started. We're going to dig a little bit into our past, and we're going to start healing some people. That's what this is about.
Good.
Okay?
You don't need some healing, right?
That's right. So let's get this up and popping, all right?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
So, Rajon, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you grew up as a kid.
Okay, perfect. Well, I grew up in the South Bronx. I was born in Lincoln Hospital in the early 80s, 1982 to be exact, right? And in the South Bronx at that time, it was just absolute chaos, right? That was around the time of, the drug epidemic. And growing up as a child in that environment, like, you really don't know that you're in that environment because you haven't seen anything else, right? Mm-hmm. So there's no point of reference to compare. So you come up thinking that, okay, this is it. This is just the way it is,
Yeah, way of life.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. So how was the neighborhood? What was the neighborhood like in your residence?
So if I remember, as early as I could remember, in every area that we ever moved around to in the South Bronx, mm-hmm. It has certain characteristics, right? Like, you saw crack valves on the floor everywhere, wow. Right? You saw, people walking around, needles in their arms. There were stray dogs everywhere. It was just, all the characteristics of, poverty.
Wow. So your definition of poverty is just broadening it out a little bit so people understand exactly, the things that you've been through.
I mean, well, as I think about it, poverty is a mindset, right? At the same time, again, when you don't have anything to compare, that's just what it is, right? Mm-hmm. So it's these communities that lack exposure and opportunity. Right? So then you have the characteristics of the outcome of lacking exposure and opportunity. So you have a lot of, drug infestation, like violence, crime, it just, and that's what people come accustomed to. And as you think about it, really all these people are trying to do is just, survive and just get through the day.
Right. Because it's different because they have a bunch of minorities mixed in one group setting, and it's a lot different, and especially when you haven't seen anything other than what you've been used to,
right.
Your surroundings.
Correct.
So what was your mother's life growing up? How were things when you were younger?
Well, as early as I can remember, and this is like talking to my aunts and stuff like that, because at a certain point as a child, like you really can't remember, let's say when you were like 2 years old, 3 years old, you're not going to mm-hmm. remember that, right? So somebody else has to come in and shed some light on that situation.
Okay.
So I found out that I didn't leave the house until I was maybe about like 4 years old. Like, my mom never took me out of the house, and I don't know what the reason was. Maybe it was for protection or what, but based on what I do know and understand about my mom is that she was one of the firstborn of a huge household. I think my grandmother had like 13 or 12 children, something like
Wow.
that, right? So usually, if you're the firstborn, like you're gonna help.
Yeah. So was your mother the firstborn?
She was amongst the firstborn.
Okay.
I know that one of her brothers had drowned as a
Wow.
kid in the Harlem River, I believe,
Oh my
at like
God.
7 years old or something like that. So that definitely was, devastating to the household. I can only imagine, but
Such a tragedy.
absolutely.
Unbelievable.
Hmm.
So I know you and I spoke briefly a little earlier. I know you had spoken a little bit about your mom had suffered from schizophrenia. Am I correct?
Right.
So what were some of the conditions? What did you have to go through when your mother was suffering from a chemical imbalance?
Chemical imbalance, right. I mean, so later it got labeled, schizophrenia, right?
Yes.
But as us coming up, we knew it as, a nervous breakdown, And there was these like certain characteristics that came with that whole concept of the nervous breakdown, right? Like you would, if you were paying attention, you would see like when it's coming, right? There's like no sleep, just pacing around back and forth and just talking out of your mind, like stuff that doesn't really make sense. And it became apparent like later, in my like early adolescent years when I really started to notice that this was not normal. This wasn't normal. And she would be like in and out of my life, Sometimes months on end, we never see her. She comes back in, she's good for years, and then another, nervous breakdown, and then we don't see her for years or months, whatever the case may be. She was just in and out. And as a child, like it's hard to make sense of what's happening, right? Because
Right.
at some point you have friends, and then you go to your friends' houses and you see how they live, and then something clicks that, the way that you're living is not the way it's supposed to be.
Mhm.
So
Now, you mentioned that your mother was in and out of your life.
Mhm.
Now, who was there to take care of you all when mom wasn't there?
well, I was my aunt was my legal guardian. Yeah.
Wow, from the time that you were how old?
I mean, well, I know she was my legal guardian for my sister, who was 5 years apart since
Yes.
my sister was born. So maybe she was my legal guardian, in my early toddler years or something like that.
Wow, so much has happened in your life that you can't even really remember
Mhm.
age difference or when exactly happened. You just know that all these things happened in your life.
Right. I mean, as early as I could remember, we moved around a lot. In terms of like bouncing from household to household. Like at one point, we were even homeless, and this played a major part in my development as far as like going to school and stuff like that. Like at one point, I was illiterate. I got left back. I actually got left back
Sorry to hear that.
in the second grade. Like you wouldn't know it unless
Like who gets
I
left
shared
behind
that.
in the
But
second grade,
who
right?
gets left back in the second grade?
Yeah.
And it's understandable because we moved around so much. I was never situated to a point where, I would actually be able to just go to school every day and learn, and grow according to that normal, curriculum lifestyle. But yeah, I got left back in the second grade.
Unbelievable.
Mhm.
I want to share some things with you also. You and I share some similarities. So you had said something with regards to not remembering a lot of things when you were younger,
Right.
as opposed to when you got a little bit older, a lot of other things started making a little more sense to you.
Right.
I remember back as far as I was 3 years old.
Mhm.
When I was 3 years old, just like any other child, running back and forth, enjoying life, being a child,
Right.
and happy-go-lucky. It took one incident. I remember this so vividly. I was running back and forth. My uncle, my mother, they were in the kitchen. My uncles had just came from hunting. At that time, they did a lot of hunting and fishing, and they were cleaning up fish and squirrel. Disgusting. But anyway, I remember this one particular time. I ran into one of the rooms that was attached to the kitchen. And my uncle stayed in there, but he's the type of person that I didn't see all the time, and they made sure that I didn't see him all the time. I didn't understand why. So curiosity got the best of me, of course, 3 years old. So when I went in that room, I noticed, this man sitting on a bed, and I looked. And like any other child would do, you walk up to him, you're curious, like, who are you? And I looked at him, and he looked at me strangely, and when he looked at me, he pulled down his zipper.
Wow.
And he took out his penis.
Wow.
And he started playing with his penis in front of me. I didn't understand it, and then he pulled me close, and I didn't understand what was going on. And then suddenly my uncle came. He was like, oh my God, what are you doing in this room? So he saw what happened. At that time, when you're so young, you're confused, not really sure exactly what was going on in my life. So I took a pause and I had to reflect, and I don't know, it was kind of confusing at that time. And then thereafter, I have a brother that passed away that took advantage of me as well. I was molested by him until I was 15 years old.
Wow.
And my uncle also did the same thing later on in life. My brother had a friend that was close to him at the time, and I guess he had a liking for me or whatever. I was so young, I don't know. When you're young, you're crushing on people, you have no idea what's going on. You don't even understand love or all the rest of that stuff.
Right on.
And unfortunately, he took me up into this abandoned area and molested me. He raped me.
Wow.
So I had a lot of things already going on at the time, just like you said, when you're growing up in poverty, and the house was, pretty much dysfunctional.
Right.
And it was so hard to balance things at that time. And when you're going through being molested and being raped, you don't have that understanding. And then my mother was schizophrenia. She had schizophrenia. And I tried to tell her, I didn't know how to explain it to her, because when you're young, you're like, okay, is it normal? Is it not normal? You're trying to find your ways. She really, going through her chemical imbalance at the time, it was like, oh, stop playing around, or what have you. And it pretty much just got brushed off. So as I was growing up, there was so many things that I wanted to do, and being that my mother did have schizophrenia, I was paying bills, I was taking care of the house, a lot of illiteracy in my family, so there was a lot of things that I had to endure going through these challenges. And like I said, I didn't understand it. I just did it because I love my family and I thought that was the right thing to do. So as I got older, I started going through a lot of challenges in my life, different relationship after relationship. Didn't understand why I couldn't relate to certain things, and also my education wasn't the best education. Even though you want more, but there's so much going on at the time where you really can't reflect or dissect it. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't have anyone to turn to. I wish that I did at that time, because I believe things would have turned out a lot differently early on in life, but unfortunately, we don't have the right resources. What are you gonna do?
Right.
You just pretty much living the life that life in poverty and anguish. So, that's pretty much some of the things, and then we'll get into a lot more later. I have another question that I would like to ask you that I feel that is very relevant to what we're talking about. Now, do you believe that history repeats itself? Whether yes or no, please just elaborate on a little bit on it.
Right. History definitely repeats itself if you allow for it, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's once you become aware or in the know, knowledgeable of a certain thing, if you don't take any action to combat that, then you do allow an opportunity for history to repeat itself in a sense.
I can relate to that. I do believe history does repeat itself. Even going through life, I found myself struggling, going through a lot of emotions. Like when you were talking about your mother with the schizophrenia and all those different things that I had to go through. I didn't know until later on in life that when my mother was younger, she was placed, at first she was in a public school, a regular school, and then they transferred out of a regular school to a school for mentally challenged. And reason being, it is what it is. That's what happened in those days. The unfortunate situation was they didn't just place her in this school for mentally challenged. They took her and placed her in a closet filled with brooms and mops, maintenance material items in the closet, and locked her in the dark. Every day that she spent her life that way, it eventually broke her. So she went from this innocent young child to being this broken child, not knowing what to do about life. And back in those days when my mother was much younger and my grandmother was much younger, there wasn't much that they can do because they had no control. Things were taken from them, a lot of poverty, they took their homes, their land, everything was pretty much just taken from them. So my mother grew up, unfortunately, so dysfunctional, and then that's where the schizophrenia, she started, they actually diagnosed her with schizophrenia, and she didn't know how to handle it when we were younger. The fortunate thing about it is she never gave up though. We can go through things, but it's the giving up part. When do you, even if they did give up, there's an understanding, but my mother, having 5 children, never gave up on us. And let me tell you, I remember stories of my mom was sleeping in the car with my oldest brother. No father, nobody around. My father left when I was 3 years old. And he was married, but made 5 children on the outside. So there's so much in life that we go through and we don't understand. And a lot of things that we don't know about and we can't relate to, and we question ourselves when we get older. Why do these things happen? But do we learn from them? That's the importance of all this.
Right.
Now, do you think there's a difference between living and existing?
Absolutely. There's a total difference between living and existing, right? I mean, when I think about living, right?
Yeah.
Like living, to be alive, right? For one, if you think about just the anatomy alone of the human being, right? We're engineered to be mobile, right? That's what living is all about. Living is all about being mobile, making moves, right? To get yourself to, whatever your goals are, right? It's all about movement, momentum, right? Plants exist, right?
That's right.
Plants exist. They sit still. They're living too, but that's existing to
That's
me
right.
anyway, right? No, we have to move. Whatever your goals are, we have to be moving in pursuit of those goals. And I think that right there is the divide between, living and just existing, right? You wake up, let's say you don't have any agenda. You just wake up, you brush your teeth, maybe have some breakfast, and watch 9 hours of TV.
Yes.
For some people, that might be living. To me, that's not living.
That's just existing.
That's existing.
Right.
You're not living is serving a purpose, whatever that purpose may be. That's what living is to me. Yes.
So you believe that we're born to be creators?
Absolutely. I feel like the human soul is not meant for stagnation. Again, you could just look at the anatomy of a human being and know that we are meant to be on the move.
That's right. I believe, living to me is, as opposed to just existing. See, when you're living for the now, meaning that, you can say there's a future, but when you live for now, meaning that You want to strive and do everything that you can possibly do because we are creators. We're brought here for a reason. There's a purpose for every one of us.
Right.
Now, do we all take advantage of it? No. Some of us go through a lot of things in life that we become so stagnated and we don't understand our existence here in life.
Right.
And living is being motivated, having that drive to find out what are your true gifts, what are your talents. Take advantage of that. Associate yourself around people that are like-minded.
Right.
So, and when you do that, because you can't do things by yourself. I found that out a long time ago. When you're trying to do things by yourself, it's not only does it take longer, but sometimes you become empowered and you give up. Sometimes you just want to give up because you don't have that help.
Right.
So, and then just existing is just a form of stagnation. You're just here. You can't figure out what your purpose is. What is your reason? What is your passion?
Right. Right.
You know, and we all have a purpose here. And we're going to get into that a little bit later because you and I had we suffered from our background, having tragedies and parents that have gone through and not having a father figure that we can actually, figure out a lot of other things that fathers are supposed to be there for.
Right.
I mean, fortunately, my mother had a loving heart. Was she very huggy? No, she wasn't like that. So when I've raised my children differently. You don't have any children at this moment. And that's one of the questions I want to ask you too. Why is it that you don't have any children at your age? What made you come to this decision?
Well, for one, right, I need to be able to align with my partner, right? So if I have vision, I'm a very a visual person, and who knows, that could have been from I'm gonna use the gift, right, of schizophrenia, right?
Yes.
Because what happens in schizophrenia is that you cannot separate what the reality from the fantasy, right? So as a child, being exposed to that, right, you may have something that you can visualize, right? And now you have something that you can pursue. So it's I don't know, maybe as a kid growing up and you're hearing people just talk out of their mind, and then it's but I don't see what you're telling me. You're talking about this, but I don't see it, right? But realistically, that's how goals are, right?
That's right.
Because I had this big goal for, a nice house and, you know what I mean? And
that fantasy life that we grow up.
Exactly. And at the moment, in no position, no way, shape, or form is this thing tangible, but I have the vision for it. And because I have the vision for it, that does make it tangible, right? Because it gives you a point of reference, right?
Right.
It gives you something to move toward. And that again, that's also relative toward living and just existing. Right?
That's right.
That's what living is about. You have something that you can explain it, right? And nobody can see what you're talking about. But you see it. You have that vision. You see it clear, 4K. It's right there. And I'm going to have it. And I'm going to have it. You
That's
know what I
right.
mean? So, yeah, who knows? Maybe that's related to that concept of not being able to separate fantasy from reality. I don't know. But
you know why? Because we're taught, especially when we're watching TV, and a lot of people put a lot of time into television. I don't really put too much time into television unless I'm watching motivational things like Lisa Nichols, Les Brown, and those type of people. I'm always fascinated over because they have a gift, and their gift is to teach. And they're teaching love, they're teaching you how to procreate, they're teaching you things that you need in life. Now, it's up to you to be receptive, or guess what? You can turn your back on it. but it's real. This is reality. This is who we are. Regardless of what we went through in our lives, struggling through poverty and dysfunctional and all the things that we went through in life, guess what? Life does exist.
Absolutely.
What world is it that you live in? Are you going to live in a world of where systemically, we've had all these problems and drama and all the rest of this? Or are we going to live in a world where we feel free our minds, free our souls, and do what we were created to do?
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So, is there anything from your past you are still holding on to that is deterring you from your visions?
I feel like it's everything from my past that is holding me to my visions. You know what I mean? Like, so this is the way I see it, right? My entire life, right? I witnessed the person that I love the dearest, my mother, right?
Yes.
Her choices in life were like literally stripped away to no fault of her own. And just like you mentioned, right? She went to the special school, the special class. Mm-hmm. And who knows, that just might be a byproduct of that kind of, situation, right? Because realistically, who's protecting you when you go to that special class, right?
That's right.
But her upbringing was so dysfunctional with all her brothers and sisters, and I'm pretty sure, my grandmother wasn't on top of things like, you should be when it comes to you being a parent. And again, these are crazy times, right? Like, medicine is underdeveloped, technology is under development. Like, this is all an experimental time, mm-hmm. right? So these people, regardless of the medical field, the mm-hmm. education field, it doesn't matter. They're all in the process of trial and error, seeing what works. And it's unfortunate that, our parents happen to be the guinea pigs.
That's right. That's right.
So
I want to get into something with regards to what you're saying, so
right.
Continue.
Right. So unfortunately, that chances are that is the outcome, right? The mind is only as strong as we make it.
That's right.
So in those times, what were the resources to strengthen your mind, right? If you end up in a special school with nobody protecting you, chances are it's all downhill from there. It's all downhill from there.
That's right. And back in those times, it wasn't about, and this is not a black or white thing. This is just a realist thing. The blacks did suffer a lot in terms of education and all the things that they went through. They had a lot of things that were taken from them.
Right.
So when we're talking about schizophrenia, like I told you, they broke my mother. Now, if she had the opportunity to have somebody, a psychologist there, just so that she can speak and relate to tell them the things that were going on in her life, as opposed to every day after day, living a life that she had to live, which was really imbalanced. She didn't know any better. So instead of them taking and talking to her and conversing, going back and forth, digging real deep into her life, really questioning, what are all these things that happened to you that made you the person that you are?
Right.
So instead of doing that, they took it from a psychologist to a psychiatrist. So automatically, they're medicating our people right. instead of understanding why we are the way we are. Because it stems from our past.
Right.
All the things that were taken from us, and unfortunately, they're giving back things that don't relate to us, and it's changing us, and it's creating a lot of stagnation, because we are very creative people.
Right.
But you can't be innovative if you don't have the right resources, or you're not challenged.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So my mother was very gifted. She was, oh my God, artistic. She can draw anything. She would see something and she can draw it. So she related. It's not that she didn't have the talent. unfortunately, she just didn't have the right resources or the right people there to help her.
Right.
So she struggled through this, and she did like everyone else did. You know, they tell us, oh, you go to school, you grow up, you go to college. No, she didn't do the college thing. But then, you know, you're supposed to get married. She didn't do that. You know, she wanted someone to relate to, but unfortunately, you know, she started having children, and she had to take care of these children on her own, which is very hard for a single mom or a single dad, because there are single dads that are doing the same thing today.
Right.
So, you know, it's very different when you're coming up like you and I, and, you know, unfortunately there are a lot of other people going through or have their own stories of whatever they've been through in their life. You understand?
Right.
So, you know, life is what it is, but you got to make the best of the challenges, the goods, the bads. But when you don't know how to relate to it and take in all the bad things that happen in your life, which you can't change that.
Right.
The only thing you can change is who you become today.
Right.
So you got to live for your now.
Absolutely.
And how would you say that you're living for your now, your true now? What are you doing for yourself today to change those differences that you had in your past?
Okay. I mean, well, again, just like you mentioned, everything is related to that, right? So, like, I grew up in absolute dysfunction.
Yes.
Like, always fearful, always afraid of everything, right?
Yes.
But fear has this like a sincere uniqueness, right? It can propel you forward, or it can leave you immobilized.
Yes.
So I learned how to harness my fears to propel me forward, right? And it all started in that sales arena. Like as an early adult, I got exposed to network marketing, right?
Okay.
And in network marketing, like you're out there on your own, prospecting, talking to strangers. Like you just get exposed to this whole different dynamic, and being exposed to that different dynamic, right? I was fortunate enough to spend time with people that have cracked the code of, you know, financial independence. Financial independence, right? And you would see it, right? I remember I was like maybe 22 years old, and we took a trip to a mansion in Connecticut, right? And I'm out here in this mansion. I'm 22 years old, and I'm just looking around, just like, wow, just mind blowing, like mind blowing.
Like this really exists.
Yes, and the way that they got there is by the same opportunity that is being exposed to me. So that
did these people come from poverty, or did they live a different type of lifestyle?
I don't know their story, but I do know that at some point, in order for you to end up in network marketing, you're absolutely fed up with the way that you're currently living for whatever reason. Could be poverty, you just want more, whatever the case may be. But you reached a point where you want to change your life. And that's the point that I had reached at a very early age, right? I was exposed to, you know, the gang activity and all of that. I saw it, I've seen it a lot. I've seen it all, you know? And I just wanted something different. So this is what happens. Like when you start thinking that you want different, and you start being exposed to different opportunities, you let those guards down. And then you start to take a chance and just explore whatever that thing is. If it's not for you, it's not for you. It's okay. But the most important thing is that you have to have that exposure. As long as, figuratively speaking, of course, like the seed gets planted. Because it may not be your time for growth. That might not be your season. But as long as the seed is planted, right, at some point in your life, as you grow, develop, and mature, you'll start really thinking about where you want your life to go, and what you want to do, and what is your purpose, right? And all of these little things that we experienced in the past is all tied to, you know, clarifying and bringing us to surface with those answers that we've been looking for.
I respect that. Definitely respect that. Now, is there a particular person that you came across, or somebody that came into your life that made this change for you? Like you just snapped out of it and said, you know what, this is not what it is, this is what it should be like, and I'm going to work my behind off until I get there? And if so, who was that person for you?
Why that person, and to this day, when I do have kids, they will know this person. This man is a legend to me. His name is Brian Carter. He was a retired detective in the police force.
Brian Carter?
Brian Carter. Brian Carter. Yes.
Thank you, Brian.
We went on our first, it was called a kitchen table appointment, right?
Okay.
Where you go into the person's home and you present the product and you go through the whole presentation and everything, right? So I showed up to this, I was looking crazy. I didn't even know how to tie a tie, right? Mm-hmm. And Brian showed me how to tie a tie. And present day, right? And this is years ago. I was like in my early 20s, right? Present day, I tied the tie the same way that he taught me how to tie the tie.
Really?
And every time I put a tie on, I reflect on what he has taught me, right? Mm-hmm. And what he has taught me is a gift, right? So as he taught me, he said, and I'll never forget this, he said, Ray, you want to know how you can tell what your future is going to be? He said, look at the oldest person that's doing what you're doing. And if you do nothing different, that is your future. That is your future.
Unbelievable.
So, that right there, it blew my mind.
How did it resonate with you?
Because it changed the way that I looked at everything. Because I was taking that, right? And I was going back to the projects, right? I was going back to the projects to sit on the benches, to hang out, to look around, right? And that's exactly what happened. I started looking at the oldest people that were doing what I was doing, and it hit right there. Just like that, it hit. I was like, no, this is not what I want. I don't want this. Mm-hmm. And then that's where it all changed. It was just a shift in the way that I was thinking. Mm-hmm. And that's the hardest part about growing up in poverty and in the community, is all it takes is a shift in the way that you think, right? However, what we have is what we have, and chances are that shift is not there. It's not there. Mm-hmm. You have to find it elsewhere. Mm-hmm. But if you leave yourself subject to what you're accustomed to, right? And I call it catering to the comfort zone, right? Because that's what we do. We cater to our comfort zone.
Yes.
We walk forward, we get uncomfortable, and then we say, oh, you know what? Let me just take a step back.
Yes.
Meanwhile, right, that shift in mindset is on the other side. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, we never reach the other side because we get so caught up in being comfortable.
Wow. Well said. And I'll speak for myself, I'm 48. There's so much that I've been through, I wanted to do, and you see yourself, or you can envision yourself being this strong, motivated creator, but yet confused because your past life has a tendency to interfere with the things that are going on. So you start fearing things. And I had to remember from that day, or the time when I was 3 years old, and I was running around and I was free and I was just being a kid. And sometimes we have to reflect and go back to when you were a kid, when you were free-minded. You had your thoughts, yes. At the same time, you were able to just roam around, adventure, ask questions, and do the things that you like. Of course, you were corrected. But at the same time, being free was so powerful at that time. So I had to really reflect and say to myself, what am I going to do with my life? Because every time I take 2 steps forward, I'm taking 10 steps back. You've been there? It's very difficult. And I'm very motivated, but at the same time, I had all these obstacles that I was still jumping over in my mind. So I had rotating thoughts that kept, cycling. Big old circle. And finally I said to myself, you know what? When are you going to grab a hold of yourself? Because you want to be successful. And my definition of successful is doing what I love to do. And that's associating myself around people, building them, getting into the things that happen in my life and healing others. Because others are going through a lot of similar things that you and I have been through. So why can't we, as humans or creators coming from God, do what we're supposed to do and help others grow and venture out there and get out of this or snap out of this cycle of what they believe life really is. They go to their 9 to 5s or whatever these controlled hours at work, and they don't want to be there. You understand? And you and I have been through the same thing, and I'm still going through the same cycle in a sense. Why I'm here today is because my purpose is to help businesses grow, not only to help businesses to grow, to help others grow and understand that, okay, this is your purpose. Now, what are you going to do? I understand you're stagnated right now, but you have that vision. Now, what are you going to do about that vision? Are you going to put yourself around people that are more like you, that are going to help you grow, or you're going to stay stuck in the same situation that you were in prior to? Mm-hmm. You make that decision. We're old enough now to make these type of decisions in our lives. So what is it going to be? You understand? Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty sure you can relate to something like that. And also, when you have certain people that don't have that same vision or a like vision, you have to let go of these people, because you're trying to venture out there and climb different levels or climb higher levels or elevate, and they're just not there. It's not that they don't have it, but sometimes people will keep you stuck in that same cycle that they're in. Mm-hmm. And it becomes very confusing. And we don't want to live our lives like that. And I know you and I have been through so much in life, and I'm just so blessed that I have the opportunity for you and I to put this information out there to help other people heal. Right on. You understand? So if the thing you want to achieve really that hard to accomplish, or is it that you that we hold ourselves back?
It's absolutely that we hold ourselves back. Mm-hmm. We hold ourselves back. And it's not even our choice, right? We live in a society today that promotes the divide, right? It's the divide in the household, right? And when you don't have peace at home, oof. And that's the most important place, right? If you think about, let's say for ease of understanding, right? You think about the cell phone. Yes. When your cell phone dies, how useful is it?
It's not useful at all.
At all. It's cooked, right? Yes. So what has to happen? It has to get recharged.
That's right.
Right? And for a cell phone, where's a cell phone's home to recharge? Whatever that charging station is. Maybe it's plugged into the wall. Maybe you got a, fancy schmancy. Maybe you bougie. You got a wireless charger. You just let it sit right there and charge up, right? But we're no different, right? Every day we go out there and we get beat up. And when we come home, we need to recharge. Mm-hmm. So now if you're going out there and you're getting beat up, and then you're coming home and you're getting beat up, you never get to a chance to recharge, right? Yeah. So you never really get to embrace the I am part. You know what I mean? I am valuable. I am worthy. That's can. Right. I will. That's right. You don't get that, right? Because you're constantly beat up. So it becomes our responsibility to not, drain ourselves in focusing on the outer world things that we cannot control, right?
That's right.
So me personally, I don't watch the news at all, ever. Like, I don't know what's going on. The world could end tomorrow and I'll be caught by surprise. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
and why is that? Elaborate on that. Why is it that you don't watch the news?
Because I understand that, for one, if you just take note, and that's another thing, like a lot of folks, they don't take note. They're not conscious of what's going on around them, right? So I would watch the news and I would negative story, negative story, negative story, negative story, barely positive story, negative story, negative story. This is negative. I don't want negativity. Done. I'm done.
Overwhelmed.
I don't watch the news. I don't have time for that.
That's right.
I'd rather invest that time in, further solidification of the mindset development, right? Read a book, or if you're gonna watch something motivational, right? Like, feed that appetite for growth.
That's
Don't
right.
take away from it.
That's right. I definitely can relate to that because when I recall, I used to put hours into television. It's just fantasy world. These people they're working towards their goals, their dreams, their purpose, as opposed to the person on the opposite side of it, which television is really designed to blind your vision. Because it has these megapixels that are in there that keeps you so tuned in. And instead of you being tuned in to your visions in life, you're tuned into someone else's life. You understand? So I definitely can relate that. I don't do much television. I said that earlier on. And the things that I do watch when I do watch TV, like I said, are the Les Browns and the Lisa Nichols and the Ralph Smart, people that are training others to become better and to instill in them that you do have an opportunity. There's a chance, but you have to put yourself forward in order for there to be any type of growth. You understand? Because it's just, people think that it's just going to knock at your door. It's not going to knock at your door. You got to put forth the effort in order for anything to happen in your life, or you're going to always live in your past. And that's just what it is. That's life itself. You understand? Either you're going to live for the now, who am I, look in the mirror. You've really got to reflect, like, who are you really? Yes, you went through those things, but that's not who you are. Those are just challenges and obstacles and, division to keep you from seeing what your true purpose is. You understand? And I just love your story, and I love how you're showing people, or you're giving people messages that is going to transform them into a new being, a new creation. They're going to figure out that this is not who I was supposed to be. This is what they told me I was supposed to be like, because our school systems aren't even training us for life itself. And it's unfortunate, because once you finish school, it's like, okay, what do I do with my life? Where do I go? You're lost. You're absolutely lost. And they say, okay, you go to college. So you're feeding them more money, and then you become stagnant. You're like, I don't get it. Because you were never taught the things that you should value in life. And I'm not saying don't go to school. I would never say that, because I did the college thing and it did a lot for me. What I'm saying to you is school for everybody? No, school isn't for everyone. But it does help others to grow and reflect and to get out there and figure out who they are. But at the same time, if you don't know you first, then how are you going to figure out what your life is supposed to be like?
Absolutely.
It's very hard to do that.
Right.
So, why do you think fear exists? And what is your interpretation of fear? Because a lot of us, we grew up being this happy-go-lucky child, and then we come to a point in our life where we're taught to fear things, and it just keeps us under.
Right.
So what would you say your definition of fear is?
So, fear is necessary.
Yes.
Fear is an absolute necessary, commodity, entity, and I use those words because fear is a real thing, right? Through the years, I learned how to embrace fear, right? Like, to me, fear is a friend who's misunderstood. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Because, and I use this example because it just paints a clear picture, right? So I remember I was in my early 20s, right? I was with my brother, right? And we're riding around. I'm in this like 1993 Lexus. I called it a luxury hoopie. That was like my first car, And we're on 145th Street, like in the Washington Heights area.
Okay.
And I see this woman that's just like, this is before like the surgeries and everything became popular. Maybe she was like the first person that ever pulled it off successfully. And I looked at my brother and I was like, damn. I was like, you see that? And he looked at me, he was like, yo. I said, listen, I know I'm going to get shut down, but I'm going to go try.
What's the worst that could happen?
And I'm telling you, I pulled over, double parked, right? It held up all the traffic. And I hopped out of that 1993, right? And I went up to this woman and I really, battled my fear. And I stood there and I felt the rush. I felt the adrenaline. And over the years, I learned how to embrace that to move me forward. Fear, I appreciate fear.
That's right.
I treat fear like a dog. I tell it to go sit.
That's right.
Or attack. You know what I mean? So fear is definitely a vital aspect in my arsenal.
You know what? I definitely agree. Just fear to me, just like before I even started my journey in podcasting. Very, very. It took me a while to get to this point because I was living in a lot of fear. Like, should I? Shouldn't I? I knew I wanted to do it. Yet I was struggling with, okay, what if I fail? What if it doesn't work? I'm going to put all this money into it and who knows what's going to happen. And then the other side of me, the adventurous, motivated, driven side of me said, well, if I don't take this opportunity, then I'll never know. So you have to challenge your fears, because fears can either make you better and more equipped, or it can take from you and keep you unfocused and unmotivated and not driven to do the things that you want or that are necessary in your life or that you feel are your visions, and you're not even focusing on them anymore because you're so scared, you're so fearful, you're so threatened by everyone else around you. But if you look at the people that are out there and they're doing it and they're venturing out there, and they didn't start off being, that number one, radio podcast or podcast per se. They started off saying, you know what, I can do this. And this is my start, this is my beginning, and where I land, guess what? I'm going to do it. And that's where I'm at. I'm in a place in my life where fear is always going to exist. Fear is what it is. Is it challenge it or stay where you're at? Make a decision. Use your fears and your challenges as a way of overcoming things, balancing things out, being that free, unique individual, that authentic person that you are. Be you. Learn who you are. And that's what I had to learn. I had to learn, who am I? What am I supposed to be doing right now? Because it came to a place in my life where I was seeing different things and I knew what I should be doing, and I was watching these motivational videos and studying and really relating to them. And I love people. Is this what my gift is? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? So the reason why I say that is because there's so many people that are not challenging themselves. They're so stuck in fear. What is it that you can say to them to help them elevate to reach that next step?
Well, the most important thing is you got to know not only who you are, but you have to know what you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this world, right? You are a human being, right?
That's right.
You're an individual.
Mm.
There is nobody that can walk, talk, or present themselves the way that you do. You are one of one.
Mm-hmm.
That is magnificent. And you got to embrace that. You have to embrace that. And once you do embrace that, you have to go on a search, right? Go to your history. Find out where you really come from, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was fortunate enough to find out that I'm a descendant of, a person who brought their entire family out of slavery on the trade of blacksmith, right?
Wow.
So what is blacksmith? That not another form of creation, right? You're sitting there, you're forging weapons, whatever you're making, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going through a process to create something, right?
That's right.
And as the earliest proverb, right, we're created in the image of God, right?
That's right.
So in a sense, right, do we not have our own abilities to create? If God created the world, do we not have the ability to create our own world? So once you understand that and once you embrace that, you have to embrace it. You have to internalize it. You have to own it. You have to know not only who you are, but what you are. Top of the food chain. Top of the food chain.
So my thing is, you have to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
You definitely have to start somewhere. You can't stay in the same position that you've been in for many years, because that cycle will just continue to repeat itself
Right.
over and over again.
Right.
So what is it that you're doing with your life today that is helping you grow and getting you to where you need to be?
Mm-hmm. The main thing for me is the routine, right? I had to come up with a routine that just keeps me focused,
Mm-hmm.
right? I had to keep the target in front of me at all costs. So prior to me, for one, I took a big leap of faith, and I did everything that I had to do in order to achieve my goal. A lot of people could not understand
Mm-hmm.
what I was doing, why I was moving the way that I was moving, right? Some people going crazy because it's like your actions are not fulfilling my goals. But guess what? I have my own goals.
That's
I have
right.
my own dreams. I have my own mission that I'm on. So forgive me if I don't perform to your expectations.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I got my own expectations,
That's right.
So I got to that point. I had to take that leap. Once I accomplished the big goal that I had, which was to, become a property owner, and I finally did it, then, and it was at like the scariest time. People would say, you're crazy. Like, you just bought a property and you're gonna quit your job? Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Mm-hmm.
But why am I gonna do that? Because I have a collection, right? An extensive collection of traumatic experiences that I have survived and continue to thrive from,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's
So these things that we go through as children, as teenagers, all these traumatic experiences, right? These are your reference points that you should always revert to confirm that you're gonna be all right. Because
right.
you've been there, you've done it, you've grown, and you've evolved,
That's
right?
right.
So if I ever have to go back into that, crazy environment of the high pressure of sales and, hitting quotas, and I can do it.
That's
I can
right.
do it, right?
You know what, Rajon? It's ironic that you mentioned that the sales aspect of it,
Right.
because we both were in the same business, and it's you learn a lot from being in sales. yeah, the hours are crazy, the money is decent or whatever. But the one thing that I valued about when I was in sales was the opportunity to be around people, not only be around people. See, when you can sell something to somebody, you can sell them a dream, an opportunity, a reason to exist in life. You understand? Because selling is so many different aspects or variations in life.
Right.
There's so many things that you can do with it. And I just chose to give up that part of the entity and get more into getting into people fully. Now, why are you making the decisions that you're making? Why would you want to spend your money on this particular, or why do you see value in here or a car or whatever it is, and then you can't afford to even pay your rent at the end of the month? You understand what I'm saying? There were so many people that we've seen in our lives that were struggling, but yet they wanted things and didn't understand why they were doing certain things, because a lot of this stuff is learned behavior. My friend bought this, so I want this. You know, I'm clothed a certain way, so I need this. We spend money not knowing that that mighty dollar or that dollar can take you to the next level. You can save up that money and value it to get you to your dreams, your expectations, the things that you value in life or that you see. You can't get there if you keep holding yourself down, and we have a tendency to hold ourselves down. You understand? And people don't get it. Why am I in the same place I was in 10 years ago? Why? And a lot of times it's because you're not putting any value in yourself. So what is it that motivates you to do what you're doing? What is that affirmation? Let people know what really motivates. What's your drive? Why are you driven today, even though you've been through so many obstacles, so many things in life, whereas you see other people and they've drowned? You understand? Some people have died living the lives that they lived because it was so traumatic. So what have you done that keeps you motivated, that's keeping you going today?
I have to say, like, it's for the legacy of not only the family but my mother, for real. Like, I feel like she, like, if I don't do anything, her existence just goes by the wayside. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
the world is one day going to know who Susan Ismay Lewis is. And,
That's right.
you know, and is, because she lives today. She's in a nursing home. She has dementia, Alzheimer's. This is the strongest person I ever met. Right? The nursing home said, oh, you know, she tested positive COVID-19, right?
Yes.
But guess what? She's still kicking.
Wow.
Eating out of a tube, but she's still going. And when I look at that, it's like, here we are, right? Alive, well and able, but unwilling.
That's
Here's
right.
a person that never have a choice. Like, I cannot do anything less. I don't have an excuse, right? I'm alive, willing, able, and ready. I have no excuse. I have to make it happen. That is my purpose. See, the purpose, it's beyond any material. I don't care about any of that. You know what I mean?
That's right.
The money, if it comes, I don't care. I have to represent. I have to represent this woman's existence. Right? If not for anything, it was for me to be here. So now that I'm here, I have to make a difference. I'm obligated to it.
That's right. That's right. And I know she values that even if she hasn't told you. But let me tell you, when my mother passed away April 19th of 2016, there was something that was given to me that a lot of people will never understand. A lot of people feel like when people die that it's the end. It's not the end. My mother gave to me, she's such a wonderful, terrific person, and I'm so thankful to have her in my life because she's taught me so much through her struggles. And the reason why I'm here today is because this woman stands by me, stays by me, even though I can't see her in the physical. Guess what? She's stronger in the spiritual. Because every day, get up. You need to do it. You can do it. You can do it. No matter what you think, no matter what you fear, there's a reason for you to be here. And my everyday, and that's why I call my show Emulating Meticulous Motivational Affirmation. That's actually an acronym for my mother, Emma. There is no purpose for me being here without her being able to be my creator.
Wow.
So I was created for a purpose.
Absolutely.
So I'm here to give something to you all and have you guys understand that you just have to be driven. You have to feel that inner self. You have a soul. You have that. Have to understand that you're going to go through so many different things in life, so many challenges. It's going to hurt. It's really going to hurt. There's so many bumps in the road, whether it be relationships or whether it be your family and things you have to let go in life in order to reach different levels. And that's why I say my definition of successful has nothing to do with monetary things. That's not what it is, because I already know that's going to come. As long as I do what I'm supposed to do, that's going to come, regardless. But my main focus is to have people on my show that are willing to tell their stories to the world of all the things that they've been through, because there's so many other people that have been through it too.
Absolutely.
So let's all heal together and figure out what is it that we need to be doing. Let's find this balance. You understand?
Right on.
So, and I'm just so proud of you, Rajan, for all the things that you had to go through, all the hurdles and things. And you're at a place right now where you're saying to yourself, you know what? I'm never going to give up. Regardless of what it takes, regardless of what avenue, regardless what I have to give up, whether friends, family, or whatever it is, I'm going to continue on until I get to where I'm going. And guess what? And I'm still not going to stop, because there's no limit. Mm-hmm. You know, once we become limitless, we don't know what that top is.
Right.
We have no idea what that top is.
Right. When you, and it's interesting that you mentioned the word give up, right? Because realistically, and I was having this conversation the other day, like, giving up is difficult too. Right, so what does giving up entail?
That's the downfall.
I'm just gonna lay here on this couch and I'm not gonna pay no bills. Even giving up is gonna be difficult, right? You get the phone calls, no matter what, it's gonna be challenging. So if it's gonna be challenging, right, let's be challenged by keeping it moving, by keeping it pushing, by keeping the growth going, Because realistically, I even made a joke about it, right? It's like, oh, it's like, oh man, I don't want to live no more, right? You decide you're gonna end it, right? And you jump off the building and then you don't die. Now you paralyzed, right? And you can't even try again if you wanted to. So you might as well make it happen, right?
And then not only that, I believe that, when we die, this is just my belief, and I'm not trying to pass it on to anybody. When you die, your soul moves on.
Yeah.
That's just my belief. So why would I want to give up or kill myself? Because I've had plenty suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
We have all these things that circulate in our minds, and especially when you've gone through so much, it's like, oh my God, I just want to end my life. Enough is enough. But thank God, I didn't come to that place where I actually did it. I actually did the opposite of that. It made me really want to venture out there and figure out, what is life really about? I've been in really nice homes. I've been around people that have had really nice things. Why is it that I'm living one way and they're living one way? What did they do differently that we didn't do over here? And we have a tendency to judge people because they have more than we have. And not having that understanding is you can have what they have, but guess what? It takes work. God is not just going to say, here, baby, and just put it on your plate and you're fulfilled. You understand? People think it comes that easily. Oh, they pray and they believe, and it's okay to pray and believe. But if you don't put forth the work, guess what? There's no return. Mm-hmm. And that's just how it is. Mm-hmm. So you got to work for it. And you got to fight. And you got to struggle. And you got to go through all the things, the pain, the raping, the molestation, the schizophrenia that you've been through, having your mother not around or in and out of your life, but yet you still loved your mom. You still love your mom, excuse me.
Yeah.
And you respect your mom. And you understand that there's a purpose for you. Without your mother, guess what? There's no Rajon.
Right on.
So you're going to fight for your mother's purpose.
Right on.
Because then when you do decide to have your own children, guess what? They'll hopefully have that same respect for you and understand why you value life so much and all the things that you can instill in your children that are going to be much greater than what you went through in your life.
Absolutely.
You understand?
Absolutely.
You understand? I just respect you so much, Rajon. You have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are the things... I know you said that, you're driven, you're motivated, and all these things that happen in your life took you from one place to where you're right now. So how has life changed for you, and what did you do differently?
The main thing that I did differently is I took risk. I took big risks, like just coming from like the ownership of that confidence, mm-hmm. right? I started feeding myself like, positive music, mm-hmm. right? Reading positive books, preparation. Like before, first off, you have to have some type of foresight, right? Mm-hmm. You have to have foresight. And mm-hmm. I probably learned this from watching the Thundercats back in the days, right? Lionel had this he had this sword, right? Uh-huh. And it's like this sword of omen, give me sight beyond sight, right? He looks into the sword and he sees like what's gonna happen in the future, right? So it gives you some type of foresight. You have to be able to. And I read a book too, Who Moved My Cheese. That's my favorite book in the entire world, and I read a bunch of books, right? Uh-huh. But this book is so simple because it takes that concept of, you have to pay attention. Notice the changes that's going on around you and start to prepare, right? Mm-hmm. So when the change actually takes effect, you're already prepared. Like you're unmoved. Like the risk that I took, people were probably still today shocked, like, what happened? Like, he just disappeared. Mm-hmm. And don't realize that over time, I've been preparing, right? So whatever it be, a separation, like, I just move on and you don't get it. Mm-hmm. I've been preparing. So when it happens, I can just transition into the direction that I decide to go into because I don't have to go back. I've been preparing. I've been preparing myself physically, mentally, spiritually, right? Mm-hmm. It's that preparation that gives you a confidence that's unwavering. So it's like whatever you are to face next, you have your bag of tricks. All those traumatic experiences that you survived, thrived, and grown from,
that's
right? Plus everything that your vision board, right, what you want to accomplish. So you have like this internal GPS. It's like, this is what I want to accomplish. This is how I have to accomplish it. This is what I have to spend this day doing. Mm-hmm. And then it just like that.
Okay, but there are people out there that don't know how to transition themselves from the lives that they're living and let's say poverty. Let's take that for instance.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of people that are living in poverty. That doesn't mean that they don't have gifts. What that means sometimes is they don't know how to get out of that cycle that they're in
Mm-hmm.
because they don't have the right resources.
Right.
So what would you say to them to help them transition their life from coming from where they're at to a better place?
Right. So when it comes to the resources, right? First, it's important to be able to identify what those resources are, right? Like if you woke up, right, and you could move, you could walk, you could speak, you could listen, you got all the resources that you will ever need.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about what are you plugging into? What are you plugging into? Because as I mentioned earlier, the primary dynamic is a shift in your mindset, in the way that you think, right? Because your thoughts produce your actions,
Yes.
and then your actions produce your results,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you
Well
trace
said.
it all back to get to the root, that's where it stems from. It stems from thought. So we could be surrounded by the poverty, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as long as you're making like daily deposits, I call them daily deposits, because
Mhm.
just like a bank, you go, let's say you go to your bank and you deposit $10 every day, right? A year, 2 years later, you're gonna have something in there, right?
Yes.
Well, just like that in thought. If you deposit in every day something positive, affirmations, scripture, go to church, just find an oasis of positivity
Mm-hmm.
where you can go and replenish on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
And then you will notice a shift in the way that you think. And then once the way that you think starts to change, where you direct yourself starts to change as well. So now there's a desire to walk out of that poverty neighborhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I say walk because back in the days, we used to walk everywhere.
That's right.
I swear, if they had the technology that they have now where it tracks your steps, you know what I
Yes.
mean? You like, damn, I did 100,000 miles today. It was no wonder why we had holes in the shoes, because we was walking everywhere. We didn't have no car. Like, you wanted to go see your aunt, you had to walk.
That's right.
Right? We lived on Marion Avenue. She lived Pelham Parkway. We walked from Marion Avenue all the way to Pelham
Miles.
Parkway, right?
Miles.
Could be why I'm so slim now. I don't know.
Well, you are into health and wellness, so
Absolutely.
take care of yourself.
Absolutely. But again, that's what it goes down to.
Mm-hmm.
It goes down to getting away from it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, we can be surrounded by it, but we can still get away from it,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're still mobile, right? We could go to the library. We could go to Barnes & Noble, right? We could put the cell phone down,
Mm-hmm.
So it's, at the same time, folks, I guess, like, they nurture their own, like, disabilities in a sense, because that thing that keeps you held back, you keep feeding it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't want to be held back anymore, stop feeding the thing that's holding you back.
Mm-hmm.
Just stop.
Yes.
Make a decision.
That's right.
Decide that I don't want to do this anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and go in a different direction.
Right. You had mentioned something with regards to going to church or trying to find that foundation, that root for you. Unfortunately, there are a lot of churches that are stagnated as well,
Right.
meaning that they've been around for many years,
Mm-hmm.
many years. And unfortunately, people are dying in their church.
Mm-hmm.
And simply meaning that they're not teaching anything new. They're not teaching you the survival, because the Bible is all about surviving.
Mhm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So if the Bible is about surviving and we're speaking about God, and God is about growth, this is something that they should be teaching. You gotta elevate these people, because you can't keep fleecing from your flock. You wanna build your sheep. You understand?
Right.
Until they become shepherds. And you find a lot of these churches not doing that. They're so stuck in the 1930, 40, 50, 60, era of, they're just reading the Bible as opposed to teaching the Bible. This is what this is what you need to be doing because this is what God wants you. There's a purpose for you.
Right.
So what would you say with regards to churches and the things that people think that are helping them, but in actuality it's really not helping them. It's actually really keeping them stagnant. And I'm not saying all churches because there's a lot of churches that have grown out of that and they're really getting into that era. We really have to dissect all this and start building our foundation. And the people are your foundation. You understand? So what would you say with regards to those type of people that grew up around that era and they're still going to these churches? You understand?
Right.
And these pastors are teaching, or not teaching, should I say, the necessary things that are needed in life. So what would you say with regards to that?
I mean, so just like in the animal kingdom, so to say, right? Like you have your lions and you have your lambs, right? So your true nature, you're gonna gravitate to your true nature. So you're gonna have folks that are, flocking to the church, and there they find their sense of comfort and security, right? And they'll stay there.
Yes.
They'll stay there to the end of days. And then you have the folks that are just, stopping by, right, to get their resources and keep going on the hunt for, better growth, development, and evolution, so to say. So there's no way to really get away from that dynamic. A lot of time that person that seems to be stagnant, like maybe that person that's just them. They just don't have it, I think it was the 5 heartbeats, right?
Great movie.
And I'll never forget this line, right? He said, "You ain't gonna get it, 'cause you ain't got it." And that's the real deal. Some people have it, some people don't, right? It comes down to making the choice, right? Like you got, people on the left side of the fence and then the people on the right side of the fence and the rest is just trying to hop the divider.
Yeah, that's just like a saying, they always say, oh, you can do everything in life if you put your mind to it.
Yeah.
That's not true. That's not always true.
It's not.
Now, you can do anything that you're gifted at, but that doesn't mean that you can do anything in life. But if you focus on the things that you're good at, guess what? You become better.
Right.
So, with that being said, I just want people to understand that use your gifts. Do something about it. Now, if you died in stagnation, that was your journey because you didn't do anything about it.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
But when you want to elevate, you'll find the right resources. You'll do whatever it takes. Like myself, I'm always constantly talking to people. I'm always finding out what are they about, what do they do in life, how can you help me, how can I help you,
right.
how can we reciprocate,
right.
Because that's how it works. You give, I give, and a lot of people are just about, they're takers.
Right.
I'm just gonna take and give you nothing back in return, and then they find themselves asking later, damn, why am I stuck in this damn same situation I was in?
Right.
That's because you weren't receptive. You're not using the right resources, or when the resources come to you, you're not receiving it. You're dissecting and you're trying to feed into all the things that you feel are good for you for the moment.
Right.
But guess what? That moment goes away.
Absolutely.
Tomorrow will come. And that's just how life is.
Right.
So you have to get these things. You have to, if you really, really, really want it, and just like Ray John said, you'll go out there and you'll find it. no matter if you gotta cut corners, no matter if you gotta give up your job and find something else to make up for what you don't have, you're going to find it. And I remember you said to me not too long ago, Rajan, that there were so many things that you had to give up to get to where you're at. And it did hurt. Mm-hmm. It hurt girlfriends or what have you.
Right.
And help these people understand that when you give up something that wasn't meant for you, the things that can happen in life for you. Help them to understand the things that you did.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, the moment I decided, right, when I fixed it in my mind that this is what I was doing, mm-hmm. my entire life changed. My entire life changed. I got flown to the West Coast for, a job opportunity. Of course I went. I didn't even really want the job. I was more excited about going to the West Coast. I've never been there before, So I get there, we go through the training, everything. I already knew in my mind that wasn't for me, mm-hmm. right? But I was still gonna go. You still have to go with certain things because opportunity is funny, right? Mm. You have to enable a platform in order for the opportunities to, come to you. Mm-hmm. They don't really come to you, right? But if you allow a platform, whereas you're out there, you're putting yourself out there, you're interacting, you're meeting people, you're just out there, you're present in life, right? Mm-hmm. You will be exposed to opportunities.
That's right.
And then when you have that opportunity in front of you, you can size it up and discern if that's something that you see fit for yourself. Mm-hmm. But I've become the type of person who likes to explore. I like to venture, mm-hmm. right? So if I get an opportunity to go to the West Coast, even if I don't particularly like whatever the job entails, I'm still going to do it just for the experience because I'm thinking about what may happen on my way to the West Coast, right? Mm-hmm. Who will I meet on the plane?
That's right.
Right?
That's right. Never
Who will
know.
I be sitting next to? Mm-hmm. This is how I think, right? So I had the opportunity, I experienced it, I met some great people, I'm still in touch with some of them today, and life just changed. Mm-hmm. Life just changed. So it was the start of owning the idea that it's gonna be okay. I don't need what I thought I needed. I was so caught up in this routine where you went to work, you worked from 9 to 10 to 12, you don't know when you're gonna be finished, right? It got to the point where it was so, draining to me, I stopped caring. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure everybody that I was around, they noticed, yo, something's up with Ray, what's up? Mm-hmm. Because I was checking out. I was checking out. And the moment that I decided to do that, it was the first time that I actually had a Memorial Day holiday where I spent it doing Memorial Day things in the morning.
Oh, what a feeling.
And I swear that was the moment that it clicked. It was I'm free. For real.
Good for you.
But at the same time, you have to fight for that freedom, mm-hmm. right? Because you can't do Memorial Day every day, right?
That's
still got bills, still got to get paid. But it's all about doing things that are fulfilling, mm-hmm. Self-fulfillment.
That's right.
I'm no stranger to work. If you ever follow any of my social media or anything, you can go back to my earliest videos and you see me posting a video at 2:00 in the morning. Mm-hmm. Still working, right?
That's right. That's right.
Making that sacrifice for now so we could live better later. There's going to be certain things that I can do. There's going to be certain things that I can experience because I paid the cost to do so.
That's right. And there are things that are anomalous, not normal to one person, but yet normal for someone else. Because like you said earlier on, which was a very important factor, we are all individuals, but we are all our own unique individuals. You know, we are going to have our differences.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, being in our uniqueness, or, you know, I call it spirituality. This is, you know, my being, my human being. There are a lot of things that we're going to venture into, and unfortunately some are going to work and then some are not going to work. So when is it that you know, or when is the time that you should give something? How much time would you put into something, right? And let's say that you want to venture into something, but yet you've put so much time in, but it's not working. So when is it that you feel you should move on to something else that may be a little more challenging or a little bit more for you?
Well, I'm gonna share something and this is, it's funny because this is so relevant. There's a conversation I had a few days ago, right?
Uh-huh.
This person gave me a polished gem, right? She said, if you can't see yourself doing something for 5 years, don't do it for 5 minutes.
Wow. Wow.
She said, if you can't see yourself doing this thing for 5 years, don't do it for 5 minutes.
Wow.
Right? So realistically, if these things that we're trying, right? Like, this is for the longevity. Like, we're at the point where we're looking for purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
We want to be purpose focused and we want to be purpose driven.
That's right.
We want to wake up excited and, you know, really ready to go do what it is that we're going to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we're serving our purpose. Now, successful business is 3 to 5 years, right?
Correct.
Whenever you hear about it, oh, what's your 3 to 5 year game plan? 3 to 5. So if you can't see yourself doing it for 5 years, she said, why do it for 5 minutes?
Mm.
And I just thought about it, and I was like, I went in the quiver real quick, you know? I was like, yes, that's it. That is it.
Oh my God. Now, you mentioned something about being free, and I asked a lot of people, you know, this question when it comes down to being free, because for me, freedom is a mental thing. And I translate it to, what am I going to do for myself that's going to keep me motivated, challenged, and driven, as opposed to working for somebody, which I've done for so many years. I had the opportunity in the past to own my own business, which was a success. Unfortunately, you know, things happened in the past, so I had to let that go. I find that when I'm working for somebody, I'm not as driven as if when I'm working for myself. Now, I can reach all levels of the company. President's Club, you name awards here and there, because I've done it, I've been there, and I'm there now. I come to a point in my life where I become stagnated working for someone else because there's nowhere else for me to go. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I don't want to be anybody's manager. I want to be who I was created to be. Unique, driven, motivated, and having that ability to help others.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is it that you see yourself doing to help other people grow?
Something very similar. Something very similar. It's a matter of like identifying what's your avenue. A lot of times we're working in things just because they pay the bills, but that's not what we were designed to do, so to say, right? Mm-hmm. So you'll never find any self-fulfillment in doing something that you weren't designed to do. It's not gonna happen.
That's right.
It's not gonna happen. So in saying that, like, this is what I'm designed to do. How we're having this conversation, and I'm, you know, telling folks my story.
That's
like,
right.
I'm a living testimony.
That's right.
For
That's
everything
right.
that I speak. right?
That's
And
right.
again, you could go to my earliest posts and you will see that I've been consistent. Like, this is it. This is what I believe in. I believe in growth and evolution and helping folks channel that within themselves so they can get to that other side, because this is how the results are produced. This is it. It's about, for one, we have to understand, how do we learn? Like, how do you learn? Some people learn by reading, some people learn kinesthetically, some people learn visually.
That's right.
Right? We have to figure out, how do you learn? Because a lot of times people say, oh no, I'm not good at that, I'm not good at this, I'm not good. And it just deters them from further self-exploration.
They turn their I cans to I can't.
Exactly. So this is where folks like us come in, right?
That's right.
Because we're, in a sense, like shepherds, right? Guidance. There is so much that, and maybe even our parents, there is so much that they probably could have overcome. Maybe they could have overcome their own illnesses with the right kind of guidance. And that is what's lacking. That's what's lacking in communities, the guidance, the exposure. How do you know what is good or bad if you never had a comparison?
That's right.
Right? So I live to be that comparison, right? I live to be the example, because I started with nothing, with every adversity before me, and yet I still keep on going. The war is unwon. You know what I mean?
That's
Every
right.
day is a consistent battle. And where's the battle really? The battle is internal, right? That battle of just making the right choice. As simple as, deciding to get up right away or hit the snooze button 13 times, right? That decision plays a part in the results of your day, the results of your week, the results of your months, the results of your years.
Right. So what you're saying is, when you wake up in the morning and you don't want to wake up to go to this job or just over broke or whatever people reference it as, you should be venturing off to something else, because if that job is not making you happy or is not fulfilling what you needed to be fulfilled in your life, then you need to let it go.
Absolutely.
Now, how do you get to a point where, because we all have bills, we have these things that, are just necessary in life. Now, how do you get to that point where, or know when you're at that point where you can actually give up and you can still make it in life?
See, the ultimate key is preparation. When you prepare yourself to a certain degree where it's like, I don't need you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm here.
You need me.
Because I want to be here for
That's
whatever reason. Maybe I'm here because I have to stay on this disciplined path,
Yes.
right? To show this lender that I'm good for this money that I'm asking for.
That's right.
You know what I mean? But preparation is the key. And in order to prepare, right, we have to walk away from the herd. You cannot, if you're gonna be like extremely successful, and this is something that I'm transitioning to myself to a further degree, is you have to step away from the norms of society. You have to. Society is geared towards consumption and division.
That's right.
With a purpose, right? It, as old as the old saying goes, divide and conquer. Divide and conquer, right? Together we win, together we're strong. Preparation, we have to stay prepared.
I have a setting in the back that says better together.
Absolutely.
Because
that's the truth.
It takes a unity of people. You understand? One person can't do it alone. But when you get a unity of people, guess what? You can do a whole lot.
Absolutely.
And that's what we need to do. We need to unite and come together and understand and I can't say or elaborate on this enough, there's a purpose for you. There's a purpose for me. There's a purpose for all of us. And unfortunately, not everyone's going to make it. Fortunately, that there are enough of us that can go out there and venture out there, and for the ones that are trying and don't understand or can't prepare or don't have the right things to prepare them for that next step in life, maybe something that you and I said today will help them.
Absolutely.
Because maybe they're just spending too much money. Maybe they're, when you profligate, you don't understand the necessities of life because you're too busy spending money making companies richer. And this is exactly what they want. Instead of making yourself richer, we're too busy making these other companies richer.
Right.
And even us working for companies. This is that person's vision. What is your vision? You understand?
Absolutely.
So I want the world to understand what you have ventured into, what you've gotten yourself into today in terms of health and wellness and where you're trying to go. Because maybe there's somebody out there, and if you know of people, if anybody's out there that can help him, he's into health and wellness, and he's building towards that. But like we said, we need a united effort. We need other people to come together to help. So if anything, you can always call us or email us with further information. But Rajan's going to go into some things that he's been putting all his efforts into, and he is working so effortless to get to where he's going. Let them know exactly what you're doing with regards to health and wellness, how you try to build your network.
Absolutely. I'm so excited about this. I am so excited about this. So my brand is Fuel Moon, right? The total transformation, right? So it's the concept of lycanthropy. And many folks might not know what lycanthropy is, right? So it's the concept of, the werewolf transformation, right? You got this scrawny guy, he gets picked on his whole life, and then one day he just goes to take a walk in the forest, and he gets attacked by this animal, and then all of a sudden, he sees the full moon, and then, he just transformed into this, unstoppable beast, right?
Yes.
So that's the whole concept behind it, right? The full moon is, to me, symbolic of all those challenges and traumatic experiences that get you to that point where it's like, I can't live like this anymore. I have to change. So that's the whole metaphor behind it. It's so funny because when I talk about it, I'm very passionate, right?
Yes, I can hear it.
And
I can hear it.
with true conviction, right? I'm telling my friend about the idea. She's like, "Ray, but werewolves are not real." And then that's when I'm like, this is the reason why I have to go so extremely hard and make this thing happen for situations like that. Like, of course I know that, it's a concept.
Mm-hmm.
And
but
concepts
you know what?
are important.
Faith is the evidence of things unseen.
Exactly.
You understand?
Exactly.
So a lot of people don't get that.
Yeah, bro. Think about everything that's around us, all of this technology, right? These are ideas, right? From some mind, right? Whoever that person was. And I could envision it. He was sharing his ideas. One day, we're going to be able to talk on this microphone and everybody's going to hear what we're talking about, right? And everybody around him is like, man, what you smoking? And we're going to turn on this light switch and everybody's just going to see light in the room, man. Man, yo, you were right. But it's those that push past that and they stay focused on the goal and mission, right?
Okay.
And that's what it's all about. It's transforming that, traditional poverty mindset. Because realistically, in fitness, right? If you're like obese and overweight and things like that, that's also related to that poverty mindset. Right?
Okay.
We're supposed to really have value toward ourselves, right? In this lifetime, how many bodies do you get? You get one. You get one. It has to last you 100 years. You have to take care of it, right?
Yes.
And when you really love yourself, there's certain things that you won't allow. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna allow myself to go 100 pounds overweight and feel lethargic and stressed, and I'm not gonna do that.
Okay.
I love me. I love
Yes.
me. You
Yes.
know, I love me. I love waking up every day to the idea that I don't know what my day is gonna look like. I'm excited to see it unfold. And that's what it all goes into. That's my whole philosophy. Is how do we change? How do we transform and go from one way of being to another? And as a person who has done it and continues to do it on a daily basis, my goal and my brand is to share and spread that with the world in a simple concept that makes sense and that we all know. You know, when you get to that point where you're fed up,
Yes.
that's when you have successfully fueled your moon.
I definitely get it. So how can you elevate? What is it that you need that maybe perhaps someone else can offer you in terms of elevating your business or your company?
Yeah. So really what I need now is direction in terms of putting the brand together with the apparel, right? Because you have your message and you want to put your message out there, right? So what best way to do that is being that billboard yourself and your clientele.
Okay.
So that's really what I want to do. I want to put the apparel out there. You got all of these brands like Gymshark and this. Everybody goes to the gym, champion. But who are these people? Right?
Yes.
When have you heard from them? What is their message? You get what I'm saying? So aside from, you know, the apparel, you have the actual face. You have the actual total transformation image, right?
Okay.
This is where I started from. I started, you know, here, Bronx, born, raised, poor, super poor, you know, and I've managed to escape that.
Okay. So if there's anyone out there that's listening, well, I know there's someone out there listening, if you can help Rajon and his craft, please reach out. Now, Rajon, if there's someone out there that can help you, how can they reach you? What is your contact information?
You can reach me, email at rlewis, Lewis, at fuel, FUEL, moon, MOON, .life, LIFE.
Okay, and for the record, I know you had went over a few things that or a couple things that you needed help with regards to getting your business off the ground.
Right.
Okay, is there anything else that you would need help with? Because like I said, there's a lot of people that are going to be watching this,
Right.
and you know, whether it's a comment or a phone call or email or what have you. I don't know if you want to put your phone number out there, that's totally up to you. But like I said, you know, there are a lot of people out there that are doing the same thing that you're doing.
Right.
And they came to a point where they became stagnated too, and then all of a sudden, or suddenly somebody came into their life and they got that necessary help.
Yeah.
So what is it, or is there anything else that you can see yourself needing help with?
I mean, at this moment, everything is in place.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is in place. It may be connecting to wholesalers for material or things like that, just for, again, the apparel side.
Okay.
But as far as like logos, trademarking, everything is in place. It's now just a matter of the launch, which is coming very, very soon.
Okay. Great. I'm so happy to hear that. So, prosperity is just something that we all wish we could feel. You understand?
Absolutely.
Especially coming from a place where you and I came from, where, You know, we came from poverty to struggling to venturing out there, realizing that, you know what, life does really exist.
Absolutely.
And you have to appreciate life. You have to give it your all. You have to stay focused. You really have to love yourself. And that's usually where it starts. It starts with your inner being. Know who you are, and then everything else will come. Everything else will be there for you. God puts people in the right place at the right time. But guess what? You have to set yourself up for it. Because He's not just going to give you something that you're not going to appreciate. You understand? So if you set yourself up for the right things, then God will be there for you to put it into perspective. And that's how life is. And what would you say, because we're getting ready, you know, move on, what would you say to people, and I know we got into the stagnation part of it already, if you're willing to put all you have into it, what is it that you need to do after that with regards to reaching out? How do you reach out to these people? Just like you and I are doing right now, I'm presenting a platform here to help people grow and hopefully, you know, there's people out there that are willing to help us in our venture. But like I said, there are other people out there that are struggling. So what would you say to them with regards to them venturing out on their own and doing whatever it is that they want to do with their lives? What would you say to them? How do they reach out to people that are more like them?
Well, for one, I feel like this kind of energy is infectious, right? A simple conversation, and it doesn't even have to go into any type of depth. It can just be a very simple conversation. Just the fact that there's flow in the conversation, chances are that is a like-minded individual, right? So that's what you want to do. Like, you need to know, and just like in sales, you want to know who's in front of you. You want to know who's in front of you. I mean, in my early career, I learned this is form, right? Family, occupation, recreation, motive. Form. Family, occupation, recreation, motive. And this is, once these stones are unturned, you'll know exactly if you are speaking to a like-minded individual. And not only that, you know, we are energetic as people, right? We operate at different frequencies. So if you're sitting there next to that negative, pessimistic person, guess what? Chances are you can't even have a conversation with that person if you wanted to.
That's right. It's amazing because you said form, right?
Yeah.
I have what's called FORD.
Okay.
Family, occupation, recreation, and dream.
Oh, nice.
You see, it's amazing. We all learn differently regardless of what acronym they're using or whatever.
Right.
But you have to want it. You just can't wake up every day and say, you know what, I want it, but you're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah, no.
Come on, you gotta, yes, you gotta get up there. You gotta dream. You gotta want it. You gotta be driven. You have to put your all into it, and stay focused. Whether it's a monetary thing or whatever it is. So for every dollar that you throw away, put that in the bank. Because eventually, guess what? It'll grow. It'll grow. It may not take, it may take you longer than 2 years or 5 years, but eventually you'll get to that place where you need to be at. But you gotta stay focused. You got, and I can't say it enough. You gotta be driven, man. You got to.
Right.
Come on, the effort. Put the effort into it at least.
You gotta show up.
Yeah, exactly. Show up at least.
Show up on time and break your plate.
A lot of people going blinded. It's crazy.
I mean,
it's crazy.
Also, too, in a sense, right? It's like, it's almost like a filter system. I feel like, you know, the trials and tribulations of life are gonna put you where you're supposed to be, right? So again, like I said, some people have it, some people don't. But throughout life, you're gonna experience things that are gonna put you where you're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have this belief, right? It's a belief. Like,
That's right.
belief is powerful.
Oh my God.
Like, you have to believe that when I jump, I'm gonna land exactly where I'm supposed to.
That's right.
And you jump. You
Mhm.
know it. You know it. You when you're at work,
That's right.
and all you can think about is being somewhere else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or with the industry we came from, we had the liberty to leave and walk around and stuff like that.
Right.
But when you find yourself just walking around, like, and ducking opportunities, you know what I mean,
That's
and
right.
trying to get home early,
Mm-hmm.
that's your spirit speaking to you,
Right.
right? It's time. You gotta listen to that inner voice. It's time. It speaks to you. It's time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when it's time, it's time. That's it. Point blank. Period.
So you're saying when it's time, just let go. Let go.
I wouldn't say me. That's how I operate. I would say that's the best thing to do.
Because some folks are drowned.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but if I could recall any opportunity that I ever left,
Uh-huh.
it happened like that. Just out of, you know.
Yeah.
My earliest career is working in the wireless industry, and I'll never forget this, right? It was the day, but it was New Year's, right? And of course, New Year's, traditionally we party, we drink. I went to the New Year's party that, you know, my aunt's neighbor throws every year,
Mhm.
and, you know, we got hammered, right? We
Yeah.
ate good and everything. And I came to work like recklessly. I was a little late, and then the supervisor said something crazy to me, and I just looked at him. I said, you know what? I took with that pink shirt, I put it right on the desk, and I said, I'm good. I'm not doing this.
I don't need this.
Whatever was in my locker, I left it there.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone. I was gone. Never looked back.
That's
Never
right.
look back. And that's how, I don't know if this is something that it just prepares me for not even thinking that there's a chance to go back. Maybe it's some type of like fail-safe mechanism. Like I know for sure now I can't go back because the way
That's
I
right.
did that, like
Ain't no going back.
ain't no going back after that point. You know what I mean?
But you know what, Rajon? Survival always kicks in though.
Yeah.
Because when you've lived a life and you had nothing,
Yeah.
and you finally get a taste of something,
Yeah.
guess what? And that something leads you to wanting more and wanting more and wanting more,
Yeah.
you're gonna find a way.
Absolutely. Because guess what? I ain't going back. Just like them job opportunities,
That's
right?
right.
I think about the poverty, and it's wild because sometimes I do like Uber, Lyft opportunities, and sometimes I find myself, it'd be like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm in somewhere in Hartford, Connecticut, like around like, and you can tell, like, you know, when you're in a poverty-stricken area, right?
Yes.
There's like all these old cars everywhere, right? The car's gray, but one of the doors is blue and the other one is red. Like, and every car looks like that.
That's right.
So you know, and then you see, crackheads everywhere. But I see that, and it reminds me of where I came from. And it's like, nah, we can't go back there.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot go back there. So something happens in success. Like, you reach these levels where now you're there. Now you gotta sustain it.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So.
Because you already know what it feels like to have nothing.
Right.
So when you have that feeling of you have to sustain it, meaning that no matter what it takes, I'm not gonna settle for less
Right.
than what I'm worth.
Right. Like,
Because I've done that already.
Right.
And not saying that, I won't go back to eating soups and all the rest of that stuff, because I didn't eat lunch for years to get to where I'm at today. When I
Right.
started this podcast, it wasn't, this is all my sweat, my tears, and I didn't eat lunch. I didn't eat lunch out, should I say. I always brought my lunch in. So I saved every possible dollar that I can possibly save to get to where I'm at.
Right.
And I'm thankful because I've had people or successful people in my life, or I watch successful people in my life and see them get to a certain plateau in their life, and I'm like, yeah, I want that, but how do I get that? Well, you got to get there by doing the same things you know that they're doing.
Right.
And that's why I say emulate. Emulate to me is you're always going to emulate someone. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
But you want to emulate someone that's doing something for themselves and others.
Absolutely.
So they're not just thinking about themselves.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
and that's where I'm at today. I want to help others, but in return, guess what? Let's all reciprocate. Let's do what we need to do to survive. Let's do what we need to do to elevate. And I just want to say I'm so thankful for having you here, Rajan. I really am. It is such a blessing. People don't understand, and I'm just going to say this lastly. Rajan and I haven't spoken in, I would say, about 4 or 5 years.
Right.
Am I right, Rajan?
Just about, right.
Just about 4 or 5 years. Now, we were just speaking about people will come into your life for certain reasons, right?
Absolutely.
You may lose that connection, but when it's that connection that's like-minded, because you and I have always been business-oriented.
Absolutely.
We always say, okay, we're going to do this. No, this is not my end game.
Yeah.
This is my beginning game.
Uh-huh.
You understand?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to take what I need from this, and then I'm going to push forward.
Yes.
And it's just so ironic how people will come into your life when it's needed. You understand? Certain people just will appear like you just call me out of the blue. And what are you doing with your life?
Yeah.
And when I said to you, oh, you know, I'm running a podcast now and I'm just getting it up and started or whatever, and you was like, whoa, really? You know, we need more people like you and I.
Absolutely.
You understand?
Absolutely.
There's not enough people out there like the two of us. If we can get more people out there spreading the word, helping people grow in their communities and business oriented, you know, I just want to make sure we stay connected, you know?
Absolutely.
So later on, or a month later, a couple months later, I just want to make sure that we come together again, we reunite again, and I want to show people where you started today as opposed to where you're at 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and thereafter.
Wow.
So,
Yes.
you know, this is the story. You understand what I'm saying? The story never ends.
Absolutely.
It just never ends.
Yep.
And this is all positive, and I want us to give back. It's such a great feeling when you know you're doing the right thing.
We have to, like, at a certain point, like, we have to give back, right? Because chances are, there's people right now, they're on the edge.
Oh,
They're on the edge. They're caught at that place where it's like, do I leap or do I just stay in my comforts? It's voices like these that give the people the reassurance, right? It's something you hear that just resonates with what's going on within your spirit that says, you know what? It's time.
that's right. I had this gentleman that I worked with, and God rest his soul. He was going through so much in life. You know, he wanted so much, but going through a whole lot of things in life. And he spoke to me like I was his mother. Loved this kid to death. Unfortunately, times got so hard for him mentally. The thoughts took over, and he committed suicide.
Wow.
So sad, very young kid, I believe no older than 27 years old,
Wow.
and just
Wow.
couldn't relate to life. Life got the best of him, going through his struggles and the alcoholism and the drugs and all the rest of the stuff. I mean, these are things that we can heal from. These are things that there's so many different platforms out there that people can use. And I just want people to know that that is not even, I mean, that's an act of weakness. You understand? When you gotta go out like that, and it doesn't mean that I don't care for him, I love him to death. I don't want to see anyone else go out like that when there are other people out there that can help. May not be monetary or anything like that, but if you need just someone to speak to at the time, or a hug, whatever it is, food to eat, whatever it is, I'm here for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here. I just don't want to see people taking their lives and, going out, showing the weakness. And that's not who God created us to be.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, it hurts me so much to see these things going on in life, especially with the pandemic being the way it is. And, it's so overwhelming to people.
Right.
People don't know left from right anymore.
So true.
Losing their homes, losing their jobs, what they thought was their career, don't know how to get started again, because like you said earlier, you gotta go with change. If you don't go with change, guess what? You're gonna get left behind, because it's constantly circling. The world is constantly evolving. And that's just what it is. It's going to continue to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
So either you become a part of it, or you get left behind. And I just hope that you all get in concept what Rajan and I are here for, or what we're trying to do. And we're doing this effortless. We're doing this from the kindness of our heart. We're doing this because we love and we want to be there for you all. At the same time, we would like people to be there for us as well. So if there's anybody out there that's watching us and, you've heard our story and our struggles and the things that we're going through, if there's someone out there that can help, please do so. My name is Sharonica Outlaw, and my platform is Emulating Meticulous Motivational Affirmation. And I want to thank you, Rajan, for being here today.
Yes.
I know I will see you again. I'll see you many, many times now that we came together, united. We've always loved one another from a distance, but we've never lost our connection at all. That love will always be there. And blessings to you. I wish you the best on your journey. And if there's anything that I can possibly do for you, I am there for you. I promise you that.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, I received that.
And
yes.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. So one more time, Rajan, just let them know again how you can be reached, or how they can reach you.
Right. Email is the best contact. It's rlewis@fuelmoon.life.
Gotcha. And spell it out for them, just so they get the right spelling.
RLEWIS @fuel FUEL moon MOON.life.
Thank you again, Rajan. It was nice having you here.
Yes.
Blessings to you, and I wish you your best self journey. Okay?
Absolutely.
Many blessings. Love you, brother.
Thank you
Have
so much.
a great day.